Okay, and we're live. Thanks and welcome back to the Awaken Alive podcast. I'm your host, Mike DeCroche, with Mark Smith. And today with us, we have Donica, Storino, and Jay Taylor from Fizikel.com. Before we get into the interview, we just want to remind everybody to please check out the website, IamAwakenAlive.com. We have a ton of great unconventional training information, articles, and we also have an online training portal dedicated to unconventional training where we teach you how to use kettlebells, sandbags, your body weight to help you move better and just get in optimal shape. You can also listen to previous episodes of the podcast on there or subscribe to the show in iTunes. But anyways, without further ado, we'd like to just get into it. Mark, take it away.
Thanks for the intro, Mike, and welcome to the show, Donica and Jay. It's pretty cool. Well, we'll make it official. Donica is our first female guest, and we're really excited to have her. And she's also some online coaching with us in the member portal. Donica is a total badass with kettlebells. She's in gear voice sport. I'm gonna let her explain that a lot more because it's quite than just your general unconventional training of the kettlebell. So why don't we start off with a lead-off question of, well, let's do a little background. Donica, talk about yourself a little bit, and then we'll kind of go into work and then how you got into that. So a little bit about you first.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for having Jay and I on your podcast. It's an honor. And a little background for my fitness history is I didn't always do kettlebell training. I just did regular fitness. And then I met a Russian guy at a local gym, and he introduced me to the hard style black dragon door kettlebells. And I did that. I built up a huge strength foundation with that and some Olympic style lifting. And then I just took a certification with the IKFF, and I saw this crazy kettlebell, competition style bell, and then I just kind of learned the style of that lifting and got hooked in the sport. But I didn't always do kettlebells. I did, pretty much what everybody else did. We live on the Jersey Shore, so I ran the boardwalk. I took some yoga classes. I was a swimmer when I was younger. Did regular fitness, just basic stuff in the gym. I didn't really do anything out of the norm until I started really finding this crazy black dragon door style kettlebell. Just seems so fun and so different. Not to mention you could use it anywhere.
Donica, for somebody who may not be familiar with kettlebell sport, what do you mean by hard style, and what is Dragon Door? Is that an organization?
It was a company who sold in an organization. They sold the old style. They're like black cast iron bells. They're kind of the ones you see in most local gyms. And the hard style is more a ballistic strength. You're gonna kind of like a max, like 5 rep, 10 reps, if you will, type strength. It's a ballistic swing. It's got a hip snap that it's used for real explosive hips. It's good for some other, some kind of sports. But the kettlebell sport is more of efficiency lifting and designed more for work capacity. So you're using your whole body efficiently as opposed to a strict press.
I've noticed with the kettlebell sport that it's incredibly smooth. It's almost like if I were to take it and start drawing lines on a video image of something, the hard style would have the very sharp, crisp, straight lines. And
Yes.
it seems like the Gear Voice Sport has like a slope to it, like a very nice smooth arch, or even an S to it.
Yes, it does. It's real efficient. So we start off the lift with a pendulum swing. It has a nice curve, and your body's totally connected. So it's smoother, and hard style, like you said, you'd have those real crisp lines at each different part of the lift, if you will.
Yeah, like when you're competing, like with kettlebell sport, which is also considered the soft style, you're competing at like 5 or 10 minutes. So it's work.
Jay, it cut out just a little bit there.
Like I said, we're style bells type movements.
Hey, Jay, we're having a hard time hearing you. I think we lost you guys.
They must have gone into a tunnel.
It's okay. This is our first guest that we've had, taking the show on the road. Jay and Donica are very busy. So, but Mark, are you familiar with what she's talking about in terms of the style differences between the hard and soft style? And yeah.
A little bit. Like I was saying, there's that smooth connectedness, and she was sort of echoing that remark with the smooth style. And sometimes what you'll see is somebody sort of hybridize the two. For a coach might borrow elements from both to the mindset. Let's teach what's most efficient and works best for my students. And so they might borrow elements from that. I myself kind of do a little bit of that. But yeah, the hard style is she's right. It's incredibly ballistic, really explosive. A lot of heavy swings for short reps. But really, really explosive hips. The hard style have great carryover and a lot of athletics. That we're familiar with as Americans, but also I think that you can't really match that sort of very niche specific endurance that the kettlebell sport builds. I mean, I think it's 5 minutes is the Snatch event. I'll have to get Donica to check me on that one as soon as our feed picks up. Donica, are you guys back with us?
I caught part of that. I'm just not sure what you said about the Snatch.
Yeah, I was saying during the competition is 5 minutes, correct?
No, it's 5 or 10.
Oh man, feed's not working again.
Yeah, sorry, Donica, we're having a hard time. So I'm hearing you.
We keep dropping you guys.
Just like you start and do a 5-minute snatch and but it's rolling.
Donica, I think you guys are. We keep losing you. We can't hear you at all.
Can you? Hey guys.
Yeah.
If you can hear, find a spot and pull over for a little bit.
Okay, let's try that.
So, okay.
Yeah, we can hear you good now. If
okay, we'll just
throw
try and find
that car on the shoulder right now.
Yeah.
Well, we got a hot spot.
I know somewhere we got a hot spot because it seems like we're pretty clear now.
Yep, let's do this. Like when cell phones first came out, and you're always like trying to find. You'd like hold the phone out the window, looking for bars. So I think we have you clear. And why don't we back up just a little bit? Let's start at you were explaining the different levels of the snatch, I guess, or different categories.
Yeah, there are both. You can do if you're competing, you can do a 5-minute snatch or a 10-minute snatch. ideally, sometimes people, if their lift is long cycle, primarily, they might hop into a 5-minute snatch just to give it a shot and hit 2 events. Some people do a 10-minute snatch, and they may do a 10-minute jerk, which is biathlon. So you have the option. Maybe if you're new into the sport, you're just trying to get your feet wet, you do a 5-minute versus a 10.
Sure, 10 minutes seems a big bite to take off, to chew on.
Yeah,
Just starting.
like a hell of a long amount of time to be slinging a kettlebell with no rest.
I've done the 5-minute ones. It's brutal.
And you only get one hand switch, so that's what makes it very difficult.
In the 10-minute one or the 5 minutes, both. Yes, that's the rule. Both of them, you get one hand switch.
One hand switch, and there's another organization, and it's called the Bolt competition, where you can compete for 10 minutes and switch hands as often as you'd like. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can put your belt down too. But the competitions that I do are 10 minutes, one hand switch. And you don't put the bell down.
That's
so
unbelievable.
It's full on for the 10 minutes, and it's extreme. It's hard.
I remember seeing this video a while back. It was this little tiny Russian lady. Maybe she was Ukrainian. I don't remember specifically. She was super tiny, and I don't know if it was a new record or she tied an existing record, but it was the 10-minute round, one hand switch. I remember looking at it, and I was like, there is not an ounce of energy weight. It's like the most efficient. It was one of the most efficient things I've ever seen. And it's just like when you see anybody that's just excellent at what they do, it's like they're not even trying. It's just such a well-oiled machine. Everything was exactly the same over and over again. It was like so crazy cool to watch.
Every rep has to be perfect. I mean, because, if you're not efficient, you're gonna struggle, and most likely you won't hit your goal, or you're not gonna make the 10 minutes. And
right.
And B, the weights that that Russian girl, if it's the girl I'm thinking of, I'm sure she was using a 24 kilo, and to snatch a 24 kilo it's a heavy bell. Like, it's half my body weight. So when I was snatching the 24, coming down into my downswing, it was a lot. If you're not efficient, it really takes its toll on your body.
Why don't you tell them about the one time when you actually did, when you had some tendonitis in your elbow?
Yeah, there was. I have been competing since I think 2009 or 10, and I don't really take a break. I'll take a day or two, but I don't break. And was supposed to do this competition just a few months back, and
Yeah, Donica, I think we're losing you guys again.
Hold the phone out the window.
Who was hosting the comp, he said, "Are you coming?" And I said, "No, I don't want to hurt my wrist. I mean, my hand. I can't really lift the bell." So he was like, "You have to come. People are looking forward to seeing you lift." So I was like, "Oh, all right, I'll do it. I'll come and I'll do one bell." So he's like, "For 10 minutes?" So I did the 16 kilogram bell, which I did the 16 kilogram bell with my left hand, obviously no hand switch, for 136 reps, I think I did.
Yeah.
Awesome.
10 minutes.
In 10 minutes straight.
Without putting the belt down.
Yeah, and I never put the belt down, and I could have kept going. I just ran out of time.
That's so cool. What are some cues to get that sort of technique different from the snatch? I mean, I definitely been around kettlebells for at least a decade now, and I haven't trained for a kettlebell event, but to do the snatch, I wear out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What are some kind of cues that you would use to be that efficient?
there's quite a few cues. I think that the most important thing is in each lift you have to recognize and find the points of relaxation in each part of the lift, and you need to use them. You need to learn how to deflect and how to unload the bell in your descend from your shoulder. A lot of people just drop it, and I deflect and I bend at a 45 at my hips, and I take about a foot or so off of the descend, so that's efficient. My pendulum swing, I'm connected to, and that's on the upswing as late as I possibly can before I disconnect and actually do that rotational pull before I hand insert to actually execute the full, the end of the snatch into fixation. And I'm utilizing my body as long as possible. Plus, I'm changing the trajectory of the bell. Like, my hips are sending it up and forward, and there's a slight micro snap straight up. And I think a lot of people pull the bell from between their legs, and it's away from their body, so their grip is going to fatigue. They're just they're using a lot more muscle groups, and they're taxing their grip where they don't need to. And it takes time though, because it's a really smooth, beautiful lift. Opposite of the long cycle, which is a more like ballistic hard lift, but your rest is overhead in in fixation, so you got to relax your grip up there. And if you keep your tight grip on the bell, your forearm is tight, it's tense, so now you're exerting energy. Most people leave their quads turned on the whole part of the lift, they never turn them off. That's efficient. So I think it's a lot of connection, deflection, and relaxation.
Yeah, when I was in Ireland a few years ago, I was working with Dave Hedges on the Snatch, and he had this cue that I thought was really helpful for sort of saving the hands, where on the descend of the bell, it's like the handle sort of skips the middle part of your hand.
Yep.
And it like jumps from the fatty tissue of your thumb pad and then like hits that little crook right above where your fingers match your hand. And I was like really helpful, because I was like, dude, I always burn my hand up. I'm supposed to actually skip that part.
The bell should just pop over that. It's the way you grip it. And
that was really helpful. That changed the way I snatched.
Oh, it'll change the way you snatch, and you should supinate your wrist when you're deflecting. You should look at your bell before you unload it, and you should supinate your wrist. And as you come down and you start to go into your backswing, that bell should just pop over that meaty part of your hand. Not really going to work. And then, you get a hand tear and you're out for a week.
Yeah, well, and I preach the gospel of protecting your hands all the time to anybody. It's, you see these silly ass pictures of people on Facebook, and they're like, oh, I got my 300 kipping pull-ups today, and your hands are like bleeding all over. It's like, great, you can't train for 2 weeks because you ruined the thing that you use every second of training.
I know, it's ignorant. It's like why would you do that to your hands? Like, don't tear much anymore, but I've had my fair share. And in Norway in Snatch, and I tore the middle of my palm, which is total amateur spot to tear it.
Right.
And it took 2 weeks to heal. It was awful. It was horrible. Like, there's no need for that. You just need to, fine tune your technique.
Yeah, aside from kettlebell training, I mean, in any kind of training, you can climb trees, pick something up, use a kettlebell, grab a barbell, grab a dumbbell, ring work. I always tell people that a hand should look used, because I think evolutionarily we used our hands much more. That's a fact. We used our hands a ton more than we do in the modern age, and so totally deconditioned hand, right? But turning hand that is durable, it has calluses, it has wear on it. It's got some really unique muscular musculature to it. And so I tell people, my girls, female clients, are like, I'm getting calluses. Like, well, that's supposed to happen. Your hand that's a mechanism of a used hand.
Yes.
That happens so that you don't blister and get hurt, and that you use a lot, that you grip stuff with, that you swing stuff with, that you pull stuff with, and you're switching grips all different, with a lot of variety and a lot of different textures. You have a hand that is almost indestructible. I mean, I haven't had a hand that, I don't think I've torn my hand in 8 years, and even then it was like a callus pulled. It was really small.
Yeah, it was probably
it's because you use your hands. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, it's probably your callus just lifted. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't wear gloves. I know some people like to put gloves on to do their kettlebell work, which is absurd. But
it messes up the movement of the bell.
Oh, it totally does. You can't feel it. It can't be placed right. And, if your calluses get too thick, you need to take care of them. And you just need to keep them. You need to take care of your hands. Like at night, I do like a scrub. I put working hands on my hands or off. They're ready for the next day. My hands haven't torn in a couple of years. Definitely working hands for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's I think that's a part that a lot of the unconventional coaches are starting to catch on to, with hands and feet. These things need to be trained at all. We had Max Shake on 2 weeks ago, and he just sent a video out last week. He's like, don't forget the little guys. It was a quick little Facebook video, but it was like really important. It's just these like toe exercises. These things in their training, they go into the gym as like, I need to, lift today or do my cardio, whatever. But you forget that the hand is the gateway to everything, and as is the foot. Like, you get from A to B everywhere. And if you're going to go forth with a lift, you have to be able to grab something. Like, if you can't grab it, no. And this trend where people have gotten wise, and especially a lot of the movement and natural movement guys, are like, hey, you know what? We should be working all these little tiny joints and small muscles as well. And I think that this trend is I think it's a highly intelligent and very approach to saying, look, if these are the most used parts of the body, but they're also the weakest link, and if we can do these things, we can strengthen the whole unit.
Oh, totally. And I think that's another asset to kettlebell training, is that you're training your grip strength too. So,
oh yeah,
you have really good, strong, healthy hands. Your feet as well, and that's one of the things I love about Fizikel, is like it starts our kinetic version is our fitness section, but it starts training in phases. So even though I have all these ranks and I'm pretty fit and pretty much do stuff maybe some people can't, or if I can't, I kind of won't stop till I can. But I was doing a in durability section. It's phase 1 of the Fizikel with Jay one afternoon on this plyo ball, and there were basic movements with stability and balance. And like, I think I'm
Hey, Donica, we're
one stability. It was so ridiculous. Can you hear us?
Sometimes.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out.
Okay, how about now?
Now you're good.
How about now? Yeah, you're on an exercise ball, and then what happened?
Yeah, so I'm on this exercise ball, which you will see in one of the videos I sent you when I launched myself across the room and kept it in the video. But yeah, that was a funny day. But I was just doing basic stability and mobility and balance with Jay. We were doing phase 1 of our, Fizikel kinetic series. Like, and just what you said, it's about training intelligent, being smart. So what I realized was, as great as I am with the kettlebells and supplemental training and my endurance and conditioning is good. I had a few weak links that I needed to address. So whether they be it in your hands, in your feet, but I think that those are really important, because if you're ripping your hands, you're really limited to what you could do in daily life and in your fitness life. But also, there's just the weak links all have to be addressed. So you can have, a champion or a world-class champion, if you will, or you can have some newbie just walking into the gym, and we all have weak links that need to be fixed, which I think is really important.
Yeah. And most of those weak links, this is Jay, by the way. How you doing, guys?
Hey, what's up, Jay?
Jay Taylor,
Hey,
guys.
what's up?
Jay Taylor, join the call.
Cool. Well, yeah, most of those weak links have a tendency to be in the core region, and the core is not just your abs, as you guys probably are fully aware. It's, it's your obliques. It goes around it's your entire trunk that wraps around your spine to your lower back there, and all, including your hip complex as well. And most oftentimes, people have weak links and imbalances. So then what they do is they want to get right to the meat and potatoes of the movements, so the exercises, the unconventional training. And we all do, and we all have a tendency to kind of lean that direction because we want to get into the meat, we want to get after it. And we overlook some of these weak links. And then what we have a tendency to do is we advance a little bit too premature. And then what happens is we run the risk of injury. We're more prone to injury. So it's sometimes we have to, even as high level athletes, we got to take a step back and work on some of those areas. And that's why when we're developing the whole physical kinetic phase system, we started with what I call the endurability phase. And essentially what that is the endurability phase focuses on your stability, your mobility, and it focuses on your weak links and your endurance. Build on a strong foundation. It's just like a house, right? It's like up, you have to build down, right? You drill down, you dig deep, and you build your foundation first. And then once you build your foundation, then you can put up the walls and the foundation for overall success. If you have a weak foundation, you're gonna have weak links and you're gonna get hurt. So it's important to build on a strong foundation, and that's why we have the endurability phase, and then you go into the strength and then the power through, right into the strength and power phases, and start doing heavy strength and heavy plyo movements when really they have no business being there. So it's important to do that. And you see that even in CrossFit, and I love CrossFit, and I'm a big fan of CrossFit and unconventional training, but what you're seeing is in CrossFit, I know you guys are probably aware, a lot of the guys that are in CrossFit, there's lots of injured hurt. So physical, like you guys said, it's about training intelligent, and that's what I say. It's smart fitness. So it's like doing it in the proper order. So that's why we created those phases, and that's what we like to bring and to help get people really building those strong foundations for themselves.
And I think it's like what you were saying, like the guy with the kipping pull-ups. There's no need to do kipping pull-ups till your hands bleed.
Yeah, that was just an example. I mean, because I've seen several posts that seem to be the, but it could be anything. You just got to take care of your hands. Bottom line.
Until you can, because I take care of my hands, but I guess I just overused, doing all these heavy long cycle for years. I don't know what I did, but I couldn't even use my hand for anything, and I was shut down. For 1 month, my right hand was just not working, and it's debilitating. You don't realize how much you use your hands.
Yeah, everything you do, everything, and it's stuff you don't think about. It's when the power goes out, what's the first thing you do when you walk in the room?
You try to find the light switch.
Right,
Yep.
even though the power's out, you don't realize that something is so subconscious until you don't have it anymore. So you don't realize that you reach for a light switch every time you go to the room until you don't have power. Then you're like, oh, I'm totally aware of this right now. Same thing with a hand injury, or any kind of injury that affects everything. You're somebody hands you a toothbrush. I had a really bad. I guess it was early last year, like February-ish. My shoulder just went. Just said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done with you, Mark. I'm not doing anything that you asked me to do. It was like hip tendonitis, bursitis, and physical therapist term all at once. I was like, all right, cool. I mean, it hurt to like brush my teeth, pull a sheet over myself, like in bed. Like that motion of just like adjusting the sheet was excruciating. And you don't realize like how much an injury or a setback can give you until you're like, man, this is affecting not my training, but everything I'm doing. And that's why it's so important. And it's all, and the problem is it's all subconscious movements.
It
is. I
is.
got to adjust the sheet. If you're right-handed, are you right-handed, Donica?
I am. Yep.
Right hand. That's your hand that you're going to use to grab everything. You might try to sign a check, or that's the hand you like automatically use a fork or extend it for a handshake. I've seen that a lot with people with an injury. They go to extend the hand that's injured because it's habit, and they're like, wait, don't shake my hand, it hurts. I was like, don't offer me that hand. That's what I'm thinking in my head. I was like, but all of these things, it's because it's subconscious, because it's daily patterns and habits you're totally unaware of, and so it's like in your face, like like a burning bush in your face. Like, oh man, this hurts. This sucks. So that's why it's so important to, like you said, take the right progressions, take the steps, and take care of yourself.
Yeah, you have to train smart. You need to learn movements the proper way and in the proper time frame. Like Jay was saying, we have the endurability, the strength, and the power. And the same thing with the kettlebells. You don't pick up and try snatching for 10 minutes your first day. Picking them up, I'll teach people with just their body weight. We don't even pick up a bell for an hour or two. Motions, we do swings, and we'll just do it with our body weight. If you do things in the proper order, you may have an injury or something. There's always that possibility. But if you're training smart and leave your ego out of the equation, I think probably be a better all-around athlete, and you'll be able to do it as a lifestyle versus a 10-minute superstar in the gym that you had to show off to a bunch of people who don't care, and then you can't do anything for 2 or 3 weeks.
I think a lot of people, the ego thing and no, come on, I can do it, just let me try. It's a maturity thing. It takes a little bit of time to get there. I think you have to have a few of those early 20s injuries and just being, and then hopefully you wise up. Most people, I think, do wise up and take a different approach.
Yeah.
I recently had a guy join up. He actually came in this week for his intro session. I remember the phone call I thought really stood out. The sort of consultation phone call I was getting to meet the guy. It really stood out to me. This guy's 43 years old, and he just had this like overwhelming self-awareness. Like he said a couple things that he's like, look, I'm starting to realize that I'm avoiding activities because of pains I have. And I realize that if I keep avoiding some things, I'm going to start avoiding more things. And eventually I'm not going to be able to do anything. And then he also said, he's like, I'm 43. I don't really have a routine. I kind of like a little bit of freedom in my activities. And I'm a big fan of that. I like people just being active and playful. He said that, I'll do something and then I'm out for a week or two, and then I'll have a good week or a good 2 weeks or good 3 weeks, and something else happens. I'm out for a week or two. And awareness of that, a lot of people won't acknowledge that. They're still stuck in a high school star, like I was a high school athlete. Well, congratulations. That was 25 years ago.
Yeah. Like, who cares?
big fucking deal. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. And it's this, if you can leave the glory days behind you and start to shift your focus to, hey, what can I do? Not could I do in my teens and 20s, but what can I do in my 70s, 80s? I think that sort of shifting, that paradigm is the key to success for most people training. If you're an athlete, there's a certain way you do have to train that I think is much more rigorous than the average person that's just looking to be in better shape. That being said, there's still an intelligent way to do it.
I agree with you. And I have been, I've been guilty of that myself. I train crazier than most people, but I'll work through injuries when I should have stopped. And I've had, I was doing a really heavy deadlift and I hurt my back, and then I just worked through it for a year to where I couldn't even really move. Like, I could do the workout, but then I was beat up for a couple of days, hard to sit down, hard to get up, pain. And then finally I was like, something's got to give. I got to start training smart. And then I did. I trained smart, I healed, and it was a big lesson. And then when I strained my extensors, I was working out with Jay, and I still tried to grab a dumbbell, and it was just the way I grabbed it, and it was very light, that it was so excruciating and pain for me that I couldn't even sleep that night because my arm was in so much pain. And from that moment, I spoke to Jay about it, and it was, I hate to say I'm prideful because I feel like I'm not, but I must have been that day. And I realized, like, from that moment, I didn't do anything with that hand for 1 month. And I still competed. I still did good with one arm. I let my hand heal, and it's better now. And I don't have that reoccurring injury with it where it flares up every now and again. So training smart is huge. And I mean, I think Jay could attest for that. He knows better than anybody who's just coming off back surgery. So who is very physical and a crazy extreme athlete who was kind of forced out of doing anything, including walking like 10 feet for about 9 months.
Oh yeah, that was brutal for me.
What happened to you, Jay?
Well, I actually I got into a surfing accident about 10 years ago, and I bounced off the bottom of the ocean, and it wasn't anything abnormal that I've done. I've done it 1,000 times in the water, and I bounced off the sand on my butt, and I heard a pop underwater, and I thought I was paralyzed at that point. It was pretty intense. I got back on my board. I paddled out. I caught some waves, a remainder of the day because the waves were really good. And the next day, I couldn't even get out of bed. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. Long story short of it, I did, extensive research on my own. I rehabbed my entire back. I was good for about 10 years. Last year, it's just something triggered, and I think it was a number of different things, but not to get into all the details. It started actually with a massage, I believe, that the person got into a deep tissue, like really, really deep. And after that, it triggered it, and it was just downhill from there. So there was a point there where it was just becoming more and more debilitating, and where I couldn't even walk about 10 or 15 feet. I was walking my back on like a 45-degree angle. That's how bad it was. I went from a pretty intense athlete to pretty much doing whatever I can think of. I can pretty much do it. And I'm not saying that just to brag or to boast, because that's not my nature. But I trained in a way where I could pretty much do anything I pretty much wanted to. Like, for example, like I paddled from, with 2 weeks of training, I did a prone paddle from New York City to New Jersey for a New Jersey beach town for a charity event. just to inspire these kids that I worked with, the youth program over the summer. And I only trained for 2 weeks. So, I ran up mountains in Panama barefoot in record time. If I squatted 500, a 500-pound squat for 5 reps, like I've done all these crazy things, and to not be able to walk, I mean, that's a humbling thing, especially when you're able to do a lot of different things. So it was intense. It was not only physically, but also psychologically. So I tried to avoid surgery as the best I possibly could. I took every possible alternative therapy that I could think of. I've done tons of research, and all those things kind of helped in some sense, but I still was in a great deal of pain. And so I got back surgery. I got a microdiscectomy and a laminectomy of L5S1. And
my training partner just had that done last year. Exact same thing.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. No, it was
he was saying that he was so on the fence about it forever. And it was actually a study that they did with this surgery it was actually in the Army. A number of guys had it, and he said something like 82% of them came back to full recovery, if not better than before.
Wow.
So it was like that study that was kind of the turning point for him.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty impressive. I haven't seen that study. So it's actually, I would say 9 or 10 months in pretty much agony. I mean, totally inactive, really didn't do much. I mean, I pushed through some workouts, but I was, I'm one to know, like, listen to your body. If it's telling you stop, like rest is your friend when your body is screaming stop, so I did, and I took all these alternative approaches. I kicked the can down the road as much as I could, but I decided to pull the trigger on the surgery, and so far so good. And I'm rehabbing it now, and I'm doing everything I can to be smart. And basically, what I'm doing is, I'm starting from the ground up again. I'm starting just like anybody else would start. You know what I mean? And
Right.
And that's why I'm such a believer in not only from what this experience has taught me, but everything I've been training for 25 years, and and pushing my body and being smart with my training. And I've seen a lot of things and seen a lot of people injure themselves, and I don't want to see that happen to people that I'm training or I'm working with. I want to be able to teach people the right way to train. And how I hurt my back was nothing from what I was training. I mean, my training, I was always very smart with my training, and I was always careful and very specific and very detailed and matter of fact with my movement and how I move my body. So I always teach people to move correctly, so they're less prone to injury. But my injury happened when I was in the water surfing, doing something that I love to do. So it can happen to anybody.
In training, I was really close with my chiropractor for years, and he used to say like that he had the crazy stories. Like, yeah, this guy stepped out of his bathtub and threw his back out, and he was a fit guy. Like himself, he had this story where I think it was him talking about himself. He sneezed one time, like a really violent sneeze. And the dude, he was out of commission for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Or you bend over and you tie your shoes, it's crazy stuff like that. Yeah. So
my story was real similar to Donica with the deadlift and stuff. It just kept going on and off for years. And then I started to step back and said, look, it's not the deadlift that's messing me up. It's something in the pattern and something, it's causing this recurrent injury. So I had to step back and realize it was my right hip just sat higher. And that's what sort of led me to, realigning the body and, some movement correction and everything. Didn't have any problems for like over 4 years. And then a few weeks ago, it went out again. And it was kind of like you were starting to replay all the habits, like everything that's gone on in the months leading prior, like what has changed. And I realized some of my movement practice had diminished because of schedule and lifestyle changes. And where I have enough knowledge and intelligence, and here we are, I think 3 weeks later, and I was doing like a really cool heavy banded sandbag lift. I actually posted a video tonight, but no consequence whatsoever. And I was doing hard physical labor earlier today. Unloading a truck full of pumpkins, and by truck I mean like 53-foot semi truck of like.
Oh my gosh!
With
Not a
my kid.
truck.
No, not a pickup truck. This is a pumpkin patch with my kid on my back because I couldn't find a babysitter.
Oh goodness!
Oh wow!
I looked like an old timey worker. It was awesome, but and so you said something earlier, Jay, that really jumped off, and I kind of wanted to share it with everybody because I was having this conversation with a client earlier this week, and he had major back surgery. The dude's got rods all up and down his back. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, man. Wow.
And so you're talking about listening to your body and when to stop, when to rest. And I said, pain is telling your body to do something. It's telling your body to take action. And sometimes it's telling your body, I need to correct and sort of rehabilitate this pain. And sometimes it really is saying, stop, rest, let the inflammation go down. And there's this fine line of trying to figure out and discerning what your body's telling you, because it's the same neurological message no matter what you look at. It's, I'm in pain. Okay, well, pain, what do I need to do with it? So it's an interesting conversation because he was saying that he comes in on Wednesday, we have a great session, he does great Thursday, Friday. By Saturday he sort of slows up on his practice and his homework, and then by the time he rolls around Wednesday, it's all tight and achy again.
Right.
Like, maybe it's telling you to get back down to that crawling pattern that we've been having success with, or these stretches, by Monday or Tuesday. But and then other times I told him, I said, I was like, look, I think pretty sure that time it was you did need to put your feet up on the couch and take some pressure off that low back. So it's a thing, and I think people that have had pain and have lived with it for a little bit can sort of understand it. I think people that are very engulfed in physical culture, like very active, they're gonna have they'll be a little bit more in tune. Like Donica, when your hand was messed up, I'm sure you knew after you took that month off, I'm sure you knew, okay, I feel there's just like innate sense of, okay, I can grab something again.
Yeah, I'm that's the good thing about when you're pretty physically fit, and I don't mean athlete, I just mean you're moving your body and you're listening to it. There were times where I could lift a heavy bell, and then there were times I would be doing a different style of workout with a dumbbell, and it would bother me. So now this is big for me because I'm used to working through the pain, because the difference in my kettlebell sport is we teach ourselves to embrace the pain. We teach ourselves, but it's a different kind of pain. It's not an injury pain.
Right.
It's your body is uncomfortable. Everything hurts. Your grip is fatiguing. So your mind is telling you, you're in pain. Your natural reaction is to flee. We teach ourselves, which is like mindset, to stay the course, fight through it. And you have to be able to discern the two, which fortunately I am, but and unfortunately I'm stubborn too, because I'm like, I could do it. And when I did pick up that dumbbell after healing and working with the bells for a week or two, working out, doing some of the programming with Jay, and I go to pick it up and it's light. I mean, I was using like 2 8-pound dumbbells, and I said, I can't do it with the one hand, with the one movement. So, my body was telling me, this is going to re-injure you, or we're not healed enough to do that. So I had to listen, where I didn't really experience that with the kettlebells. But again, it's more efficient. It's a different type of lift. It's a different type of grip. So I think that people really, and what Fizikel is about, and you guys as well, is about teaching people, how to remain active through an injury, or how to be okay with being inactive until the injury is healed.
Right.
That's something I've struggled with, but I'm much better with it. I was doing Muay Thai, and I ruptured the tendon that runs along my Achilles. Like, it literally snapped and rolled up, and it's still in my cast. Yeah,
Gross.
no, it's awesome. It kind
Okay,
of
this
makes me
is a family program.
listen. I'll send pictures. No,
Yeah,
I'm
do
just
that.
kidding. I'm just kidding. You
I want to see it. That'd be
no,
awesome.
you can't see anything. It just it left my leg unable to function I couldn't walk. I couldn't even tiptoe on it. And the injury was real severe. But I figured I still had one good leg, and I could use my upper body and core. So the reason to me bringing this up is that I was smart enough not to do anything on this leg that was severely injured, but I had my core and I had my upper body, I think, which I made so strong, which enabled me to be, a great kettlebell athlete. And the difference between that injury and, say, Jay's back injury is the back injury is located in a part of your body that's in your trunk. That's essentially in every part of your movement.
Yep.
So that's not going to be smart.
You got that injury.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, what we're here to do is teach people, to train smart, follow the phases, as well as I can, totally dial in anybody in their kettlebell sport journey. But it's about in any any athlete, any sport athlete, I had a leg injury. I could use my other leg to stabilize any upper body and core movement. You have a back injury, you can't do that. And people have to understand that. Like, when I had my back injury, I wasn't as smart as Jay, I have to admit. But, I know that now, and now I'm healed from that. But at the time, I worked through the pain, which I don't think was the smartest thing, because it prolonged my injury for about 13 months.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Like, yeah. It sounds about right. Yeah, it's like the injury. It's like when there's pain, it's like, okay, well, you have to discern, is this a good pain? Meaning, is this just a soreness? Is this something I gotta grind through? Or is this like a hurt pain where is this the blinking red light? Is this the check engine light saying, hey, there's something wrong that needs attention? Like you said, is it just rest? Like, is because there's some sort of inflammation where I just need to ease off of it, like Donica's injury with her tendonitis, where that's just inflammation. You just got to back off. Or is it something that needs correction? Like you were saying, like you have one hip bigger, higher than the other. Okay, so then that means that check engine light is saying we need to correct that. That's correction that's needed, right? So it's like, because the hip is basically, if the hip is off, the spine's off. So you want to be able to correct the hip, so then your spine is, starts to it gets back in order. So, so that's really it. It's like discerning the two, and then taking the necessary action as to how you're going to move forward, whether it's back off or correct, or a number of other different things. So,
and your check engine light with your back injury was a car fire. Not just a check engine light. The car was actually on fire. Engulfed in flames.
It was on fire. And what I did was, and that the call to action for me was, okay, well, let's get to the root of the issue. Like, what's the real problem? I mean, there was trauma to that area. Let's correct some of the imbalances there, because what I was doing was, as you're probably aware, when you have a back injury, your body starts to overcompensate. So now you're starting to create more imbalances because you're overcompensating. So your gait is off when you're walking. So now, like, my glute isn't firing on the left side nearly as like it should be. So now there's some muscle imbalances. There's some hip imbalances. My left hip was higher than the other too. So it's
Twisted.
now yeah, it was higher than the right. So
3 inches higher.
3 inches higher. So now it's like, okay, so now all these imbalances are starting to come into play. So now I had to correct those imbalances, go to some of these alternative practitioners and do some different movements on my own, work on my TVA, my transverse abdominis. I had to really, there was a lot of things I had to do that helped correct it. So then when I went ahead and got the surgery, my rehab is going to be that much better. So
Achilles is such a nasty injury.
yeah, it's funny how yeah.
But it does remind me of a great song, Achilles' Last Stand by Led Zeppelin. First
and
album.
See, we should play that when you do the intro.
We should, dude. You should do that. Mike, make that happen.
What's that?
Dude? Make Led Zeppelin. Play Led Zeppelin, Achilles' Last Stand as the intro music for this podcast when you do it, because we'll get like 10,000 views because Led Zeppelin's the bomb. Everybody likes Led Zeppelin.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
Except for people that suck at life.
Yeah, and when I had ruptured that tendon that runs along the Achilles, what happened with me was, like you, my left hip was turned in, which in turn made all those tendons up, that goes all the way from, there's that big one that runs down through your knee and
the IT band?
Not the IT band. I just got to think of the name of it. But that, it goes on the opposite side of the IT band. What's the name? I had it. And yeah, and what happened was there was so much tension because my hip turning pulled everything tighter. So when I kicked, it ruptured. And I knew that I was having these like phantom pains in my knee, but I wasn't hurt. I didn't do anything to it. But again, it just goes back to, you need to listen to your body. There had to be a reason I was getting a signal, but I was just like, I was doing, this is back 10 years ago. So I was doing that ignorant training, if you will. And even now, like the physical, the lifestyle, the phases, and the training smart, keeping your hands healthy, your feet, your ankles, all of those, it's really important. And that goes back into any sport. Like even for me with the kettlebells, if any of that stuff is off and I have a heavy bell and I go to bump, I'm going to have a problem with my ankle flexion or my hip, or I could potentially get really injured the weight of the bells that I lift. So all of those key things, they factor into how well and you're gonna be in your sport. Like, if you're gonna be one of the best, you have to take care of your body the way you train it.
Would
it's equally as important.
You say that's one of the main philosophies of physical? Like, you can, I guess, share like the philosophy. I mean, we've talked about the programs and the phases, but what's the overall philosophy of physical?
Well, the whole mission statement is to cultivate champions, not just in sport, but in life. So I know you touched on it before. It's like, we really want to be able to cultivate champions in sport, but also in life. So, and how do you do that? Well, there's a lot of different facets to it, but if we had to kind of summarize it in kind of like a real clear and concise manner, it would just be primarily through fitness, fuel, and fortitude. So essentially what we want to really do is to help create life athletes. So, and when I say life athletes, I mean more so in the line of being fit for life, and having your mind fit for life, eating well for life, moving for life. That's
fortitude
really,
for life.
Yeah. And that's really it. I mean, that's the whole kind of philosophy of physical in a nutshell. I mean, it's a life performance formula. But, and physical is, fuel, inspire, zone, insight, kinetic, engaged lifestyle. It's really about a lifestyle. But it's really about creating life athletes.
I love it.
And I
That's
think,
definitely gels with what we got going on for
Oh,
sure.
yeah, absolutely.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that you know, with Jay's background and mine, and the two sports that we've been, you know, involved in, and all the accolades that we both have, what we both learned is the mindset is key. So the fortitude is going to be the key to your success in anything. If you're trying to do meal prepping or just learn how to eat healthy for your lifestyle, because your New Year's resolution came around, so you bought the you downloaded the 40-day workout life challenge. I believe it's free. But then, you know, we want you to eat healthy. But if you don't have the discipline and the fortitude, the mindset that we teach you, um, you're not going to be successful. And I think that it's both of our passion and our goal to watch people achieve the goals that they set for themselves. My kettlebell athletes, when they do well and at their competitions, and I took about 5 people and gave them 4 weeks of training, never picked up a belt. Well, they picked up a belt, but not for sport, and they all took first place. And I thought to myself, that is more meaningful than any rank I've ever achieved. And I guided them through the mindset, and I guided them through the fuel. And I had one athlete in particular that Jay and I worked extremely close with, and we spent 3 hours one day with this lady, and she's just, I mean, she's just a doll. And she had such a breakthrough with Jay and I. We went through the fitness, fuel, and fortitude, and we literally changed her life in her fitness and in her daily life at work. She saw Jay walking down the street, and she stopped him and said, like, I'm this whole new person at work. I have this mindset now. Like, she's free from we said, like, she was finding her identity in her performance.
Yeah. You know, like when Donica talks about fortitude, like it's kind of a lot deeper than what it sounds like on the surface. Like fortitude is one portion of it is what I call finding your why. And your why is the reason why you're going about doing something. Like, so whether it's in sport, whether it's in life, whether it's in family, whether it's in finance, whatever it is, it's like what's going to really drive you is your why. So, and what I help people do is I help them discover their true why. So, I mean, for example, somebody may say, well, you know, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay. And I ask them, well, why? You know, well, I want to go on a cruise and I want to look good in my bikini.
Right.
And then I'm going to say, well, why? And the reason why I keep asking why is because I'm drilling deep. I want to peel back the onion and I want to get the true essence of your why. Like, so it's being in a bikini and feeling good about yourself. That's okay. But that's like, you know, that's not really, that's a shallow why.
Yeah, that's not a why to build to last.
Exactly. That'll last you maybe a month or 10 days or 2 months. And then once you achieve your goal, you're going to resort back to your old behavior. So it's like, I've done a lot of coaching with a lot of nutrition coaching, a lot, with performance athletes and just your regular Joes. And I always found that, most of my coaching has nothing to do with nutrition. It always has to do with the mindset and the behavior of people. So it's like, because I can give you the best diet program, the best performance nutrition program on the planet. That's not a problem. That's easy. That's nuts and bolts. But if you're not gonna follow it, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just a piece of paper. So we got to get back to the real essence of why you want to do this. So, and I always found like what really is going to drive a person is when they take their focus off of themselves and it has to do with someone or something else. The cause has to be greater than you. And then when your why becomes greater than you and not necessarily about just solely you, then you're on the right track.
Right.
So, and then that's going to be sustainable. It's like for you guys, right? Your whole mission, like for us, it's like our mission is to cultivate champions, not just in sport and life. It's not about Donica and I. It's not about how great Donica is or how great Jay is or how many pounds I can lift or how many mountains I can run up or, you know, how many miles or I can paddle in the water. And it has nothing to do with that. Those are just tools. Those are things to just, well, hey, listen, those are things to inspire others. That's all it is. It's not about her and I. It's not about us. It's about how can we make you better? That's what it's all about. So if I can extract the why out of people and peel back the onion and get them fired up about what they're doing, where it's sustainable, where that carries over into their real life, and they come back to you and say, like this woman Petra that Donica is sharing about, she came up to me and she was like, she gave me this big hug. I mean, I only met her once, and she's like, I can't believe it. Those 3 hours like transformed my life. I had so much junk that I was carrying, and I call it the rocks in the backpack. It's like, we got to get rid of the rocks in the backpack, you know, because we carry rocks from early, all throughout life. We carry these rocks in our backpack, and they're usually these lies that we have a tendency to believe. So we got to disperse the lies, replace them with the real truths, and get rid of the junk in our backpack. And then when we can have a real why, now we have a real reason for being. And that's what I try to do with people, is to really extract the why out of people.
But we do that in a very simple form, because Jay's description is brilliant, but it could scare people. But when we're sitting with you and we're
A lot of
working,
enthusiasm.
yeah, no, but it's good because
Nothing wrong with that.
no, it's passion and it works because he's giving you a description. But when we're working with people, it's a very simplified version. And I'll give you two examples. One was myself. Like, my why, I recently just came to understand it, and it was profound. But I remember I'm showing Jay, like, you guys see how awesome I am. I can do this, and no girls can do it like I can, and I'm the best, and I'm good. And that's great. And I put hard work in, and I should be good. And I own that, and I do it proudly. But my why, which I thought was, well, I work hard. I want to show people, you know, you put your hard work in, and you can attain anything you dream of. That's a good why, I thought. But he looks at me and he says, but why? So I'm getting a little angry with him, like, dude, I just told you why. Then I get another one. So it does, you know, make you really dig deep. And it was just one day I said to Jay, I think that my why is to inspire people. Like, I think that I have a gift, and it's through fitness, but it's not about the fitness. It's to inspire people. It's to show people, like, they can do what they want. So when my why, when I realized it, and it was like, I'm sitting on a panel as a speaker for the Women's Kettlebell International Kettlebell Summit, you know, and there's an Olympic, what you call it, the what do you call that? The Olympic, not Olympic lifting, but she was like a strong man.
Powerlifting,
Strong
strongman.
person.
Power
They like
lifter.
prefer to become strong persons.
Strong, yeah, strong person. Well, she was amazing.
Strong lady.
Strong lady, beautiful woman, but strong. You know, she's on the Olympic team. Two people from United States, two women, two men. You know, I'm sitting up there with these people, and I'm looking out there, and they asked me what is my why, and I started to say my why, and my performance on the platform allows me to be asked to do things like this so that I can inspire all the women and men, but there were only women this time, sitting in front of me. I have a platform that I can use to inspire people, to teach them. And I had people crying in 20 minutes in my segment of what I was teaching. And I thought, you know, that's far greater than lifting the kettlebell for 10 minutes, which is very difficult. And when I earned, you know, my MSIC and my master sport and multiple times, like, those were very difficult. But it was just a a platform leading me to a bigger why, which is why I'm trying to have a bigger goal now. But I think the other thing that can help you dial in that why is like your why should be like, what did I say, Jay, in my notes was like the adversary that prevents you from attaining the goal, which hinders you from impacting people. You know, it kind of puts so the why has to be greater than yourself. It'll be your driving force. And you should become, which I posted it quite a few times, if the why is great enough and doesn't really have anything to do with you, you should really become unstoppable. Because when I hit that 136 reps with my left arm, I didn't even think that I would make the 10 minutes. I mean, my strategy was like, let's be cautious. But I did have my why was personal that day, and it was a big one. And I could have kept going. I just ran out of time. So it's proven that your body and your goals and your diet and your fitness, it's all in your mindset. And if your why is strong enough, you'll be able to stick to your diet. You'll be able to stick to your fitness. You'll be able to be accountable. And I love that about Fizikel.
Yeah, you see that all the time where, you know, with the why and people who run marathons for charity, they a bunch of them probably would never have run a marathon for themselves or even for fun or sport. But then somebody says, well, let's run a marathon so we can raise money for kids or, for whatever. And all of a sudden they have an endless supply of motivation to do the work and get it done. Because it's outside of themselves.
Altruism at its finest.
Yeah.
It is. And I did a 1 hour kettlebell lift for autism. My very good friend, her son, we call him Brian the Lion. He's autistic. And the kid is amazing. I just adore that kid because he is too much. But I did it with a 20-kilo bell for 1 hour. You cannot put the bell down, but you could switch back and forth. And 1 hour with that kind of weight in my body size, it was difficult. But my why was for this child. Like it was, I don't know if I did. I think 618 reps or something like this. I think I said to Jay, what do you think, 500? And we just prayed. We got a strategy. We did it, and we did it for this boy. And he was that driving force. Like I was not gonna fail him or myself, like, because this kid is amazing. We're raising awareness for a charity, and I got this little boy looking at me who gave me the biggest hug after. I mean, the why is strong. Mm-hmm. Everything else will come together. Like Jay's has an article that's really amazing, but he says if your why is strong enough, the how will take care of itself. And I love that example that he uses.
What's that article? We'll run it.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out.
Oh, it's amazing.
Well, Donica, we are fresh out of time.
Okay.
But you know what? I would love to do this again because we definitely have a lot more to cover. It's hard to squeeze it all into an hour show, I know. Totally agree with where you guys are coming from on the why. Like that, I think that mindset and philosophy is the engine that really drives success. And like you said, unstoppable and almost like infinite potential too.
Definitely.
There's nothing you really can't do if you have the proper reasoning to do it. It was an absolute delight having you guys on. Our first, right? So you guys were traveling. That was pretty cool. We had to work through that a little bit. Don't worry. We'll get that sort of straightened out in the post production there. Mike is an absolute computer wizard.
Yeah, you wish.
Meanwhile,
I fake most of it.
I'm really looking at a white screen right now. My computer got funky during it. I'm so glad the audio is still working, but I can't do anything. Like my mouse doesn't work, nothing's working. I'm just a white screen, and somehow, by the grace of God, the audio is still working here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I have to say,
melting
it's been
here.
an honor to share physical with you guys, and that you asked us on. We can love to do another one. We could do more a more kettlebell GS focus podcast if you want. But hey, we'll love to share our passion with you guys.
Oh yeah, and this
Passion
this is the stuff
enthusiasm.
that
You guys
people
got it
love.
in
It's
droves.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll link to Fizikel in the show description. Just again, if you guys want to train with Donica and Jay, they are going to make a dedicated feature trainer section within the Awaken Alive portal. So please keep a lookout for that. And yeah, again, thanks, Jay, Donica. Thank you so much for your time. It's a pretty awesome way to start our Friday evenings.
Thank you. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Thank you, guys. It's been an honor.
Yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.
Okay,
Thank you. You too.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.